Tav Chav Vav Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the top. We learned previously that Abaye says, according to the second version, he said that Rabbi Yehuda holds that something which is efsha, even if a person mechaven, so there's no isser bana in that case. Rabbi Yehuda says davar shein miskaven is awesome. So kavan is not the overriding criteria. So therefore Abaye says, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if something is efsha, it's not practically avoidable. So the reason the person is getting hana from this is because he can't avoid it in a practical sense. But nevertheless, during the course of doing this, for instance, passing by a place where there's a reyach of a incense of avodah zarah, if he's intending to get hana from it, then nevertheless, Rabbi says, Rabbi Yehuda would say that it's not also, because the kavanah is not the overriding factor. The overriding factor is, could he have avoided or not? So Abaye says, Amar Abaye min ma'amin, what's my proof that Rabbi Yehuda says that it's something ziyevsha? But even though he's mechaven this mutter, this time we learn the brayso. Amar lav Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. They said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he was sitting and he assembled people, and they sat in the shade of the heichal. And v'darsh kol yom kula, and he darshan to the people the whole day. So he brought them into a large area, and they had the shade from the heichal, and he taught them Torah. Here it's lo yafshar. He couldn't find another place to accommodate all these people, and mechaven, and they were mechaven. They wanted to get the shade, the benefit of the shade. V'shari. So don't you see from here that something that it's yafshar? There's no alternative, even though the mechaven, it's still mutter. So Abaye says it's a proof to what I hold in Rabbi Yehuda. Rav says no, shiny heichal, that's different. That there, the benefit of it is for the inside. When they made the walls, and the walls that should give shelter, should protect, that's for the inside of it, not for the outside of it. So the derech hana from the heichal, the derech hana is from the inside. The outside of it, to get the hana from the shade that it provides for the outside, that's shaloi kederech, and therefore it's muter. Now, even though by me'ilah frektesis, it doesn't say achila. Now, what we know that something is only kederech is where it says achila, and by me'ilah, the issue over here is me'ilah, getting hana from the kodesh, and by me'ilah it doesn't say achila. So why should we say that there's a p'tur over here just because it's shaloi kederech? The gederech, where we say that the isser, the Torah only answers when it's gederech, so the Torah says achila. Me'ilah doesn't say achila. We don't learn out. There's no isser. It doesn't say achila. So why should there be a p'tur of that it's shaloi kederech? Taisa says because we learn out me'ilah gzera shava from truma chet mitruma, and by truma it does say achila. Therefore, it's only also derech hana asa. Now, even though the Frekte Achreinim, that normally, even though it's shaloi kederech, we would say that it's also midrabanan, but over here, for the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, they were mater. They were matered even because it's shaloi kederech. That's how Rava learns it. Abaye learns it because there's no isser. It's going according to Rabbi Yehuda, and since it's efshar, it's not also. Rava says no. Rava says that he maintains that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, if he had mechaven, it would be us. Why is it mutter over here? Because it's shaloi kederech. Rava says, what's my proof that Rabbi Yehuda does answer something, even though it's yavshar? But if he's mechaven, that he does answer it. It's not we learned in a Mishnah. They had openings like skylights that were open in the upper level of the Beis Kodesh Kadoshim. They would lower the workers, the umnen who used to do repairs, they would lower them through these openings, through these skylights. They would open them, lower them in the umnen, and they would lower them in crates. They would lower them to come down. They would lower them down, and they would do repairs on the walls. So they were enclosed. They were enclosed on all sides except the repairs that they had to do that were right in front of them, so that they shouldn't look around and get hana from the beauty of the Kodesh Kadoshim. They were blocked off, and they could only do what they had to do the repairs and not look around. So that's the way they used to do them. The Tzasem is medayik that it's Kadesh Lo Yizunei Neim is why they were in the crates, but why they were lowered through the skylights, he says, is because they could not enter. They could not enter in the normal way. It was also for them to come and have a biyah shalayla sarach avoida. So therefore, they had to come through the skylights in any event. So, but however, what you do see in any event, what we do see over here is that we see over here that it was also for them to get hana. Now, over here, there's no alternative. You have to be brought in to do the repairs, and there's no an yet. Nevertheless, if they're mechaven, it's also. So don't you see that something that even though it's efshar, if they're mechaven, that it's also? Gemara says, "V'tizbra." You think that is the reason that they had to be blocked off, because it would be also because it would be considered that they were getting hana from it. There would be meila. A sound to derive benefit from the sound of the musical instruments. The call umara, something from the beauty, the appearance of something that's beautiful from the base of Mikdash. V'reach, and the smell, ein behem mishum meila. There's no meila. So this would not be an isser because of me'il over here. The reason we did this, that we blocked their view, is not because otherwise it would be me'ila. You can't bring a raya from here, Abaya says, because there's no me'ila here anyway. Ella, so why did they block their vision? Ella mala also b'leis kodesh kadoshim. It's a mila that they made for the base Kodesh Kadoshim. Because of the Kedusha they gave, you had to have that degree of reverence, that degree of Yira, Moira, that they had to block their vision. They wanted to block their vision, so to treat it with the proper Kovid and the proper Moira, that they shouldn't be looking around. But as far as Me'ila, it's not an Isra Hano, it's not an Isra of Me'ila. They did it so in order to ensure that the workers gave the proper Yira and Kovid to the base Kodesh Kadoshim. Some say Rava says, what's my raya? The Rav Yehuda answers something, even though it's a yafshir, but if he's machaven, he answers the sanyam. Rav Yishim ben Pazi, Amrishu ben Levi Mishum Bar Kapora Kol Omara Vereach Ein Behem Mishum Miila. There's no miila by the sound, the appearance, and the smell. There's no miila. So make a diuk miila hu deleka. There's no miila. There's no miilo involved over here. But haisurik, but it is also. There's no Isser of Me'ila per se, but it is also. Whether this is an Isser D'Oraisa or D'Rabbanan, that's a subject of discussion in the Achrayim. But Asurik, my love, Lo Isser Hamdim Fnim. So what is it? Where is it referring to? Is it not referring to the people who are standing inside? And that's the case of Deloy Yevshar V'Kamachavin, which is unavoidable. But if the person is Mechavin, also, and it's also. So don't you see that Yavshar and Mechaven is also? It says it's talking about the people who are outside, who are standing outside, and it is Efshar. It's not Yavshar. They can avoid it. They don't have to have this hana from it. They're not working inside. They're not doing avoida inside. They don't have to. They can avoid having this type of hana. So therefore, it's loisanam de mechutz, and whereas Efshar, but the people who are doing the avoida, even if they are intending to get hana, maybe I'll tell you, Abaya says that it would be mutter. Gufa, Amr Mishum Pazi, Amr Ben Levi Mishum Bar Kapora, Kol Amar Reach, Ein Ben Mishum Mi'ila. There's no Mi'ila on these things. Frank the Gemara, Reach, Ein Ben Mishum Mi'ila. There's no Mi'ila by Reach, by smell. V'hatanya, Hamafata Mesek Keteres Le'islamet Bob. Someone who makes the mixture of the Keteres. He puts the ingredients together, the ingredients that the Torah says for the Keteres, that they have to be brought in that measure, in that proportion. Now, if somebody does it for personal use, he's chayv koros. He's a punishment of koros. But if someone is mefatim, he makes these the keteres, he makes this compound l'islam in order to learn how to make the keteres. Or he's doing it not for personal benefit. He's doing to donate it to the tzibur. potter, he's potter from cars. Lahariach ba, if he does it to smell, chayav. V'hameriach ba, and the person who does smell for his personal benefit, the ketayris, he's potter. He's potter from cars because the cars is by mixing it and making it, not by smelling it. So if he smells it, he's potter mikar. Ella shemal, but he is moil. So you see that the Isser Hana that he has over here applies over here, that there is even by smell. So how can you tell me that Reach there's no Me'ilah? Don't you see clearly over here that by Reach there is Me'ilah? Ella Amar Papa. Now there's an amendment to what we just said. That what we just said, Kolomara V'Reach Ein B'hem Mishum Me'ilah, we're amending this. We're saying Ella Amar Papa Kolomara Ein B'hem Mishum Me'ilah. On Kol and Mara, there is no tangible substance here. There's nothing tangible, so there is no me'il on this. Lefish ein behem mamish. They have no substance. But v'reach, there from the smell and the smoke, there would be me'ila. But v'reach la'achesh shetalatim rasa ein boy mishum me'ila. But after the ketayris has been burnt and the column of smoke arises, so meaning the mitzvah of burning the ketayris has already been performed, it's already been accomplished, so it's nasa mitzvasa, then and only then, no, ein bo mishum me'ila, hoil v'nasa mitzvasa, because the mitzvah has already been accomplished, and once the mitzvah has been accomplished, there is no more me'ila. Not because that the Esem there's no mila. Koil Mara, Ein Boy Mamish there's no mila. Reach there is mila. But once it's alatim also, once the column of smoke has arisen, you've performed the mitzvah, there's no mila, then there's no mila. L'meimra, you mean to say the kol heich denasim misfas Ein Boy Mishum Mila? Is that the rule? Is that the klal that anything where it's nasas mitzvah, where the mitzvah has already been performed, there's no mila anymore? Is that so? I by Truma Sedeshen, the case of the Truma Sedeshen, the Nasa Mitzvah, when you already did the mitzvah, you did the mitzvah of Trumas Hadeshen, of removing the ashes from the Mizbeach, V'yeshba Mishum Me'ila, and yet there still is Me'ila. Dirshu V'sama Eitzel Mizbeach. The Torah says that you take the ashes, you scoop up the ashes, you put it next to the Mizbeach. So the mitzvah is done. You've done the mitzvah of the Truma Sedeshen. You put it by the Mizbeach, and as Vesoma Eitzel Mizbeach, we darshan shelo yifazet. You can't scatter it. When you put it next to the Mizbeach, it shouldn't be scattered around. It should be put in one place. Vesoma shelo yehena, and it says that you place it, that it must be placed over there. You can't get hana from it. So we see over here that even though the mitzvah was done, that you already completed the mitzvah. You completed the mitzvah, and it still has me'ila. So why wouldn't I say the same thing by the ketayras? The more answers, enechanami. We do see over here that by the case of the Truma Sedeshen, that this is a case of davar shenases mitzvah, and it's still also, but this is an exception. Mishum dehave Truma Sedeshen a big day kahuna shnei ksuvim aboim kechad v'chol shnei ksuvim aboim kechad ein malabdin. This, it's true that it's all spun up, but you can't learn out from this. You can't make a binyan out from this, because we have another case where we say also that it's nasas mitzvasa and it's also, and therefore shnei ksuvim aboim kechad is to teach you that these are the cases that it's also, but otherwise it's not, because if you were able to learn out that it's nasas mitzvah and it would be also, why would the Torah write two cases? You'd learn out from one and apply it generally, apply it everywhere. Elamai is telling you that dafka over here it's nasas mitzvah and it's still also. But otherwise, something which is nasas mitzvah is not also. So we have one case of the Truma Sedeshen, and the second case is big day kahuna. And it's shnei ksuvim aboim kechad v'chol shnei ksuvim aboim kechad ein melabdin. In Truma Sedeshen hadam, the case of Truma Sedeshen we just said. Big day kahuna. What is the case of big day kahuna? The pasuk says v'hinicham sham. It says that after he does the avodah, the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur v'hinicham sham, he puts it, he leaves it there. V'hinicham sham elam mishetunun geniza. He leaves it there, which teaches us that they have to be put away. They have to be hidden away, meaning that you can't use it. It's also bahana. So there, even though he did the mitzvah of Yom Kippur with this big day kahuna, he did the mitzvah of the kahuna with already accomplished with it. He did the avodas hayom. It cannot be used. It's also bahana. So well, that's fine. That's true according to the Rabbanan, who says that that's what it means over here, that it's Tanun Geniza, they have to be placed away. You can't get Hano from him. That's, should we see, the second instance of Darshanas Mitzvah, which is also Rabbi Daisa argues with that. He says no, that it doesn't mean over there that it's new Geniza. He argues and he says he says that they are, it can't be used for a Kohen Gadol for the next Yom Kippur. But these begodim that they were referring to over here are talking about the Daled begodim. The Daled begodim that the Kohen was a special big day lovin of Yom Kippur. That's Daled begodim, which theoretically could be used for a Kohen Hedget. So he argues, Rabbi Dyson, and says that it cannot be used next year for Kohen Gadol, aval ruim hein l'Kohen Hedget. It can't be used for the Kohen Gadol for Yom Kippur, but it could be used for a Kohen Hedget. So, what does it mean? It doesn't mean it's also ba'ana. It means it can't be used for another Yom Kippur by the Kohen Gadol. So you don't see over here that there is something that's not as mitzvah and it's also ba'ana. What's your second source? And to say that it's dafka in these cases, but generally something that is not as mitzvah is mutar ba'ana. More answers. I have another case of something which is nasas mitzvah, so what the Torah says, even though it's nasas mitzvah, it's also bahana. And therefore, trumas adeshin and egla rufa is the second case. And it's ein malamdim. So therefore, you learn out from the case of also the egla rufa that it says by egla rufa that it has to be, they decapitate the calf. It says that they orfu as egla, they break its neck, they decapitate the back of the neck, and it says the eglo sham. It says eglo sham is the egla there, to teach you that it has to be buried there. It's also bahana. You can't get any hana from it. So you see, though, even though they were mekayim the mitzvahs, nasas mitzvah, it's also bahana. It's another example of something nasas mitzvah and also bahana. So you have the case of trumas adeshin and egla rufa shnei ksuma b'im kechat ein melamdim. Correct the Gemara hanich laman damer ein melamdim. That's fine according to man damer, who says ein melam elaman damer melamdim ma'ika lameimar. But there is a man damer who says no, even if there's two psukim, two limudim, we still could learn out. You still could learn out of binyanav. It's only if there's three. But if there's two, you could. So we only have two over here. And assuming that he holds by the case of the Big Day Kahuna, that's not an example for the case of Big Day Kahuna. Because assuming that it holds like Rabbi Daisa, you only have two cases. So where do you learn out that it only applies here and it does not apply elsewhere? More answers, in each of these two cases, in each of the cases of the Trumas Adeshin and by the Egla Rufa, in addition to the halacha itself, that it's also bahana, but in both cases it has a miyut to teach you dafka here. Here it's also bahana, but generally speaking, it will be mutar bahana. Tremut ksiva. Ksiv is someone. It says in the case of the Trumas Adeshin, it says it, v'samoy. Now, it could have said v'sam. It says v'samoy. The extra vav is to tell you this. This is nasas mitzvah, and it's also, but not other things. And it says by egla rufa ksiv ha'arufa. It has the extra hay over here. It has the hay of ha'arufa. It says it could have said al ha'egla arufa. It says al egla ha'arufa. So therefore, it says the extra hay over by ha'arufa is to teach you that it's dafka over here. The harufa is where it's nasa mitzvah and it's also, but otherwise, something that's nasa mitzvah would be mutar. So that's the general rule that ein l'chodavish nasa mitzvah and it's also. These two cases are the exceptions. So therefore, by the case of me'ilah, really by the case of the reyach, there is meal, but
It's when it's after, it's Nasas Mitzvah, also after this column of smoke has arisen, after the mitzvah, the burning of the Keteris has been performed, it's Nasas Mitzvah, so at that point, there's no more Be'ilah.